Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
This week, your prime directives are serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law, and join us as we celebrate the 35th anniversary of an iconic movie with a look back at 1988's arcade classic Robocop this week on the Retrograde podcast.
Welcome to the Retrograde
podcast where we remind you what you used to love and whether or not you still should.
I'm Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, I'd buy that for $1 Aaronworth.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Everyone remembers the famous Robocop line, I'd buy that for $1.
It's a very famous line, and if you don't know what we're talking about, pause this podcast, go watch the now 35-year-old movie.
35-year-old movie.
Robocop.
Which means it's way out of your age range, Andrew.
Well, how so? I like older women?
I was going to say a little bit younger than that.
Oh, okay.
33 maybe.
Yep, 33, Larry Bird.
Larry Bird.
I only date people that have passed Jesus' death age. That's important to me.
That's true, yeah.
I can't get you. I can't have you getting crucified on my watch. That would be bad news for me.
I only date people who can nail 3-pointers, baby.
Yes, exactly. The two people I know, Larry Bird and Jesus Christ.
You think Jesus could nail 3-pointers? I know he could get some things nailed, but maybe not 3-pointers.
Yeah, Mary Magdalene.
Or his wrists.
Yeah, or his wrists. Well, yes, of course. I think Jesus could do. No, actually, no. I think he's a low post kind of guy. Yeah. What am I saying? He's got no elevation game. It's all in the low post.
It's all in the low post.
He's more Kevin McHale than he is Larry Bird. There you go.
I like that idea. Hey, look, by the way, you mentioned it.
What's up?
It is the 35th anniversary on July 17th of your favorite movie of all time, Robocop. Tell us why, Andrew.
It was a movie I cared a lot about. I know you're joking. Really? I did like Robocop a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And then you see it on cable as a kid, and you're like, this movie's pretty cool. And then you see it on the VHS, which has not been censored, and you're like, holy shit.
Oh, is that true? There's a version that is legit uncensored?
You know, this is like now kind of talking about our age a little bit because people are not going to watch movies.
What's my age again?
What is my age again?
Well, not 33.
No, absolutely. Is that you don't watch movies on TV anymore. Why would you? Why would you watch the commercials and stuff?
I've heard some people say that they do. They're like, oh, Jaws came on TV and I watched the whole thing. And I'm like, did it take you all day? Like, did you do anything else? That's like longer than football Sunday. It's just like when I get commercials.
I just don't understand the purpose of your life that you're like, I don't know, I just sat down because I literally couldn't even figure out what to do. Like, I couldn't even put on a video game. I couldn't even figure out a new movie. Stranger Things has a new season. No, I don't want to. Like, no, I'm just going to sit here and whatever the TV does, like, it's like rolling the dice.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't like it at all. Listening to radio, I kind of get that because it's like, what's going to play? And
radio drives me crazy.
Radio drives me crazy?
I can't do it. No, I can't do it. It's somebody that I find not funny trying to charm me into sitting in between like car dealership commercials.
I feel like you're describing this podcast, Andrew.
Yeah. Now word from our sponsor.
But look, as we mentioned, 35th anniversary of Robocop, a movie that apparently did actually mean quite a bit to Andrew. I'm a little bit indifferent towards the franchise, but I thought it was important enough that we can take a look back at this game. There's a history of Robocop games out there. The one we're going to be focusing on is the 1988 arcade game, which was eventually ported to the NES. There's a little bit of history there. They're not quite the exact same games, but they do have quite a lot to do with one another for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into in a little bit. But before we delve into Robocop as the game, in quite a unique way, people may not be used to this. I'm not sure. If they're new to this podcast, they may not know this, Andrew.
Well, tell them.
Well, do you know what we usually do on this podcast?
No.
Oh, no, you don't.
No.
Okay, so I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
Listeners, close your ears.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to know this.
Oh, it's just for me.
This is just for you.
Okay.
So, Andrew, typically what we do on this podcast,
we
take a look back at the games that we used to play when we were kids. Usually it's something we had an affinity towards one way or another.
That makes sense.
We rate and review the games as we remember them back when we played them.
Okay. But it better be a very easy to understand rating system.
It's out of 4 bits only.
Okay, good. But just once.
No, not just once, actually.
Oh, really?
We just like as we get older, life gets more complicated, so too does our rating system.
Is that the truth?
We actually play the game in between segments.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
And then we rate and review the game as it holds up in the modern day against like some modern games, also out of 4 bits.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, we've only been doing it for 4 years or so, so it's a little surprising that you're just picking up on this now.
I was gonna say it's totally understandable. I haven't figured it out.
Why were you saying numbers about games in the past episodes if you didn't know what they were for?
I don't know. It's funny. Numbers are not my strong suit.
No,
right?
we know that. That's why we have the master spreadsheet keeping track of all our scores.
Yes,
what did you
absolutely.
think that was for?
I'm not sure, but I thought, to be perfectly honest, it's a lot easier just not asking questions sometimes.
Yes.
And just going like, sounds good. And then just like being able to clock out, which we do have an old timey factory clock out system.
We
with
do.
a chit card.
It's right next to my grandfather clock.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Elliot at the end of the week takes all the cards and tries to figure out our, pay stubs.
And if that guy doesn't like the way you clocked out, he's like very old timey, curled handlebar mustache. He's like, I'm gonna clock you good one.
Oh, he's gonna clock me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be good though. I like the idea that a grandfather clock, I could clock out on the grandfather clock.
That would be great.
And it's also made out of the dead corpse of my grandfather.
Oh, that's what you mean by grandfather.
Yes, 100%. It's like an animal that's been stuffed.
So let's pretend that your grandfather clock is made out of your grandpa.
Okay.
When it reaches on the hour, what sound does it make?
Just hit noise of an old man getting up from a couch.
I like that.
Jaws is on again.
Have you ever owned a cuckoo clock?
No, that sounds. I'll just own a bird at that point, which also sounds infuriating.
Sounds terrible.
Okay, here's a judgment for you out there. If you own a bird, you're weird.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it. I'm sorry. They smell weird. The noises coming out of that thing, I just can't do it.
I will get to video games in a little bit, but one quick anecdote before then. I saw on Twitter recently someone, I will not say their name. I don't know that anyone else knows them because it seemed relatively untouched. It seemed relatively virgin territory in a variety of ways coming from this person's Twitter profile.
You're the archaeologist of Twitter, just dusting underneath. Let's see what's happening here. Nothing.
The person tweeted like a whole long like iPhone notes tweet long, and I was
what were they apologizing for?
they were eulogizing their bird, which you know what, pets, I get it.
I get that.
I totally get it.
Totally.
But it turns out he had this bird for less than a week. So maybe it should have been an apology.
Maybe that's like Mr. Policeman, you cannot find me. I'm gonna kill again. I'm gonna adopt another bird.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, birds. I don't really get it because I understand the appeal of like a domesticated animal that you can have and it kind of walks around your house and you're like, hey, look at that. That's great. It feels like you're around with somebody.
Right.
If this is just a caged bird, the other thing too is like, you're feeling on domesticated animals, whatever. But it's like, it's hard to cross the T on this one of going like, birds like to fly. You stay in this box. Like, I don't know.
I know why the cage bird sings. Because it wants to get out of your fucking house.
Because it's furious.
I mean, I guess that actually is the point of the Maya Angelou poem.
It is. That's literally why the cage bird sings. Spoiler alert for the Maya Angelou poem. Cage bird sings.
Andrew, why are you spoiling Maya Angelou again for us?
Sorry about that.
I was just getting to the good part
Absolutely.
of the poem.
Okay, let's talk about video games.
Let's talk about video games. Well, there's this great Maya Angelou video game.
Sorry.
Andrew, I've been fascinated at your trials and tribulations with gaming since PS Plus kind of came onto the scene. The scene seems like you've picked it back up.
I have,
and
in a big way.
You're in a big way. You're kind of cleaning out some of your back catalog of the games that you've downloaded with PS Plus and kind of gotten into. Which are the ones that you're spending the most time with?
Okay, here we go. I downloaded Valhalla, Assassin's Creed. I downloaded Miles Morales, Spider, man. No, man, Spider, whatever.
Oh, wow, okay. I was going to say Spider Dash Man.
I downloaded Tsushima, Ghosts of.
Yes.
I downloaded.
Is there a comma in there or no?
No.
Okay.
I downloaded, I think I got a bad copy. I downloaded Galaxy, Guardians of. And I can tell you, I have already beaten Miles Morales.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
It's great, isn't it?
It is great.
You played the 2017 Spider-Man?
Spider-Man
one?
Yeah, and I loved it. And I think it primed me to be very good at this game.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden you give me more abilities? I'm like, oh, good luck, everybody. Good luck, criminals of New York.
What did you like better, the story of the 2017 Spider-Man or the story of Miles Morales?
That's a really good question.
Thank you. I've been sitting on it for a long time, Andrew.
I think the voice acting is really the star of the show in both those things.
Yes.
You really do feel like they're real characters. And in so many ways that, Mikey and I love comic book movies and we like comics in general. And this felt like an accurate portrayal of Spider-Man.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe recency bias, but I really like Miles Morales' story. I love the mother, Genki, the guy in the chair,
Yes.
very similar to the movies right now with Ned. And I thought the story of actually Finn with being the villain, I guess, or spoiler alert for a game that's a couple years old now.
It's also follows the Miles Morales storyline anyway. So it's
Finn is the Tinkerer, one of his good friends.
Yeah.
And I think the Tinkerer story is really good. I think the way they draw from New York. And I just, once again, like I played the hell out of Spider-Man because I just loved traversing New York as fucking Spider-Man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that went away at all, except the fact that I raced through this game because it turns out I'm pretty good at it already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You had the experience of 2017. I mean, there's something about, the more you play games, the more you realize that there are these recognizable patterns to certain ones. You've got like the Assassin's Creed open world style thing where it's like climb to a tower, open this. The combat's relatively similar. And I think that does apply as well to certain superhero games like Batman and Spider-Man and I mean even Assassin's Creed borrows some of those elements, especially when it comes to combat of that, where the combat is relatively straightforward, but they keep adding another element or another gadget or another technique, and you just kind of add on to them. And the fun becomes juggling all of those different tactics and techniques that you can use. I personally liked the Batman games better than Miles Morales, with one exception. Traversing the city in Miles Morales is unbelievable.
So much fun.
It's unbelievable. I just felt like my Spider-Man is not Miles Morales. Not my Spider-Man. Do not read into that.
I liked the very subtle cue that Miles Morales was not as crazy about the police officers as Peter Parker was.
Yes.
And I'm like, nice. Nice. You didn't even have to address it, but I get it. I like it.
Yeah. One thing, and I have this problem sometimes in certain, especially superhero things, when there's a power struggle between two characters. And if I'm the protagonist or I like the protagonist, I hate how they can't always win a fight. Like he struggles to beat Finn. And I'm like, yo, he's better at this.
But I did like that final fight.
Yeah.
It's in 5 stages, and every time it was somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
It was cool. It's more when the cinematic takes hold and he's losing those fights, and I'm like, I don't want Spider-Man to lose. No. Come on, what are we doing here?
But his story of sacrifice, I was really good story at the end.
Yeah.
And I think the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies kind of get this weird history now where we're like, they weren't that good. I'm like, oh man, I think they're really good. And they also...
Did Sam Raimi also do Spider-Man 3?
He did all 3.
Okay, he did the third as well.
Yeah, which I think is...
I think that's kind of what tainted the first two.
Sure, absolutely. But yeah, I get that. But is that... Part of the Spider-Man thing is, he's just a kid, and his relationship with New York is like unlike maybe any other city and superhero. And so I love the little moments of at the end of Miles Morales or in Spider-Man 2 where they're like the New Yorkers stand in front of him.
Yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't care. That's awesome. Like that is part of Spider-Man lore.
That's great. Yeah. I like there is also, and we're going to get into this when we talk about Robocop, but there is a lot of subtext that goes into what policing... I should use a better word than that, but like what fine, we'll go with policing. What policing a group of people is all about, and it is a communal action where it's like Spider-Man is protecting these people, and then these people protect Spider-Man because he protects them the proper way, sort of thing. I know it's fictional, and it's eschewing a lot of the ideas of what it actually takes to police, but there is that element of it saying like, if done right, it's cohabitation, not an assertion
Boot
over.
and
You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I
say this on the heels of just having finished We Own This City.
Which I can't wait to talk about. Probably over at Patreon, our Mushroom Club, where we talk about TV episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only other thing is, so those other 3 games now.
Yes.
So by the way, Miles Morales also at the end, like, you finished the game. Way to go. Here we go. Like getting little like dancing figures and stuff like that. I'm like, I want more video games to be like, congratulations.
This is a video game. You did it. Yeah,
you got to the end screen.
Exactly.
That is fantastic.
What suit did you use, by the way?
Into Spider-Verse.
Oh, did you really?
Did
you include the because one of the cool things is that when you unlock a suit in this game, and I think all games should do this, if armor or a something that you wear has a power up to it, when you unlock that armor or that suit or the aesthetic, you should be able to remove the power up and apply it to any of the aesthetics. And Spider-Man does this.
Yes.
One of the aesthetics you get into the Spider-Verse one is having it do that sort of frame choppiness.
Yes.
Did you include that?
I did.
You did, eh?
I did, and for a bit, and then I kind of took it off, and then whatever. And I was
Did
kind
it
of
make you sick at all?
It was cool for a second, and then I'm like, let's get back to the game here.
I played ththrough Miles Morales when I was balls deep in COVID.
Okay.
Or COVID was balls deep in me. I'm not sure how to put it. And I was already dealing with a headache.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
was already kind of like feeling sick. And then once I did that frame dropping thing from Into the Spider-Verse, I just couldn't deal with it. I did the regular spider suit with the hat and the
Christmas
scarf.
hat and the scarf.
I fucking loved it. I love that. Yeah.
I love that. That's really good. So wait. Okay, 2 more things. It's Nike should absolutely be stoned for the fact that they didn't allow them to wear the Chicago Air Force Ones. Miles Morales' story is he wears red and black Nikes.
Right, but
he's wearing Adidas in this.
No way.
Or wearing 3-striped generic shoes. And you're like, oh, whoever dropped the ball on this one sucks.
Yeah.
Can't have fun doing anything. Okay, so then for the other 3 games.
Yes.
You beat Miles Morales?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Miles Morales is great. I rolled credits, as I like to say.
Whoa.
Yeah.
God, look at you, just breaking tradition. So with the other 3 games, I've tried them all. And I've tried to find the one that sticks. Now, I will say Guardians is really cool because the story is really strong and where all the characters are talking the whole time. And while you're kind of exploring and walking, you can kind of make choices with defend Rocket or sell him out or do all this kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But I really am loving Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I said this when I was playing it. I feel like it's right up your alley.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a cool story. I do think it's a little silly where I'm still in the town that's being sieged and working my way. I haven't worked my way independently into the map yet.
Sure.
But I will say it's really frustrating where it's this huge army and battle and stuff like that. And then you're like, 3 guys. Okay, good. Turn the corner. 3 guys. Okay, keep these guys. 3 guys.
You'd rather take them all on at once?
Well, it doesn't. You just told me the cinematic, and then you went, okay, what's this though? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it. Whatever. But I will say it's beautiful. So
Andrew Baskin, by the way, very fun at parties.
I am.
Very fun at parties.
I am. It doesn't make any sense. He was holding the coffee cup in his left hand, and then it come back into the right hand. Movie 0 to 4 bits.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So those are the 2 that are. It looks like I'm going to be taking the biggest drive.
How are the and I think it makes sense to talk about these because everyone is replaying these games who hasn't yet because with them being on PlayStation Plus now, it makes so much sense. How are the controls and how is the gameplay in Guardians? Because that's the one thing that it looked like it didn't interest me that much about that game.
Yeah, it's not as smooth as Miles Morales and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima is obviously very more precision based, timing based, whereas Miles Morales is more combo based and areas of detection and stuff like that and a lot of stealth. This one's more bright colors and stuff, and I feel like I haven't really got to the meat of the controls, but I would say at this point, underwhelming. That's
disappointing because it looked like the story and everything was great.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to I would rather just watch Guardians again than play a game where the controls aren't that
And I will say too, not having the voice characters
it's a weird thing.
Because it's also they're closer to the character designs of the comics, I'd say.
Yeah.
Especially Gamora and Drax are.
Yeah.
And so it's weird when Drax is not Batista.
Yes.
I don't know, for some reason Rocket can be whoever and I'm fine with that. Groot can be whoever they want. That's fine. But it's something like Drax much more gravelly and much more sinister. It sounds more than goofy and fun. I understand why they switched up.
I like the aloofness of
100%.
him. Yeah, I will play that one vicariously through you. I don't have any plan to pick that one up. I'm struggling right now because I'm playing a few different games right now. I'm still playing my Elden Ring, obviously, slowly but surely. I got accepted to the Overwatch 2 beta.
Oh, you did.
Thank God I didn't buy the package that
pre-sale,
allows you, the pre-sale package, because I was tempted but out of principle, I was like, there's not a chance that I'm paying for a beta. And then paying essentially for a free to play game that will be free to play in October.
So they accepted your video of you sobbing and crying and offering I'll kiss you, man.
Andrew, I didn't know that the camera was filming. I thought that I was talking to my pet.
Right.
That just so happened to have climbed onto my keyboard, hit the record button after plugging in my webcam, emailing it to support.helpme.blizzard@fmradio.com. I can't believe that went to someone.
Support.helpme at Blizzard is a active website at this point. It's an active email address.
It's a tip hotline. Don't, and I say this, do not email just the tip at blizzard.com.
That gets you.
That's not where you want those things to go.
It's evidence B in an ongoing lawsuit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I did boot that up quickly, mainly just to get a sense of Junker Queen, because she is a really cool tank that's been added to the game. Her kit is just really fun. She's got a shotgun. She actually, a lot of people have been saying she's incredibly unique, she's so different from all the other characters. She has a lot in common with Hog, because he's I think that, and it kind of makes sense because they kind of come from the same backstory, right?
Yep.
She has this ability to kind of like throw a knife out and bring it back, like the hook does to kind of bring someone close. She has a shotgun that works a lot better from up close.
Yep.
Melee attacks cause a sort of they wound the enemy, so that means she like leeches some of their health.
Oh,
so what you don't want is for her to get up close to you, and especially in a group of people, if she swings her axe and hits multiples, then she's gaining health, and you just really can't do anything about her. So she's fun. Everyone right now is playing as her, so it's just kind of like it's hard to get a sense of what else is going on. But I think I'm finally getting the hang, because I mentioned this earlier, that I'm better at Overwatch 1 than Overwatch 2. I'm kind of getting the hang of Overwatch 1 with the new balancing and Overwatch 2, where to kind of position myself, especially as a support, how to fend for yourself, how to really prioritize yourself over getting a kill. And I'm enjoying it. I haven't put a ton of time into the second round of the beta, but this weekend, I think I'm probably going to put a couple hours into it. The other thing,
because you're a journalist.
I got it. I'm a journalist. I'm doing this for you, listeners. Yeah. The other game that I really want to get back into, and I'll report back if I do, because this one's been on my list to finish for a while, and I just keep hearing people talk about it, and I want to join in as part of that conversation, is The Outer Wilds. I know, I don't think you played that game. No. It's on Game Pass, and it may also be on PlayStation Plus. I can't remember correctly. Okay. But it's from what I had experienced from the game, it's a first-person game, puzzle-oriented. There's a universe or a galaxy that you have to make your way across. There's some mysteries to solve, but the galaxy keeps kind of coming to an end at the end of one cycle. So you have to find ways to solve certain mysteries within the time frame. Very sandboxy.
That's cool.
And yeah, I really, really liked it. It was really unique. And a lot of people who are in this games journalism space tend to think that game is one of the best almost ever. Like, it makes a lot of top 10 lists, a lot of top 5 lists. Cool. And I really enjoyed when I was spending my time with it. Now that I have my Steam Deck, I think it just opens me up to spend a lot of time with a lot of different games. So I think that's probably the platform on which I'll be playing that game. So expect me to report back on that.
Well, I can't wait for you to report back. How's Disco Elysium going?
20 minutes here, 20 minutes there.
I really got to keep a list of all the things you bring up that you start, because my case would be so much stronger.
About
hashtag Mikey doesn't finish.
Listen, I try to finish. I try so hard, but I just love games so much that I want to play all of them. It's like I keep having kids and raising them to about the age of 6 or 7, and then I'm like, done with this one.
Time to drive in the forest.
The update.
You're going to be a feral child now.
Hey, it's freedom. Everyone's like, don't let your kids have screen time. You know, a great way to ensure they don't have screen time? Drop them in the middle of a forest.
Don't have a home.
Don't have a home.
100%.
100%.
You know where there's no screens? Caves.
Caves, there aren't.
Caves, no.
And you know a great way to ensure that kids can't keep reaching for their phones? Because that's just like, even if you tell them not to.
Yeah, how was that?
Bind their hands.
Bind their hands.
Bind their hands.
Binding of Isaac, one of your children.
One of my children is Isaac.
Isaac, yes, absolutely.
That whole story is a story of my parenting, actually. Yeah. Well, listen, a story of I think my origin story starts very similarly to that of Robocop.
Really? How so?
Yeah, just torn apart, obliterated, brought back to life by the government. Here to do the government's bidding, one podcast at a time. Yeah, exactly. Andrew, you mentioned that you had an affinity towards the movie.
Yeah.
Robocop.
The titular
Robocop.
Yep.
This one kind of strikes me in a similar way to that of Ghostbusters, and we talk about this all the time, where the first one is amazing.
Okay, I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Yeah. This is exactly the case I was going to bring up as well. Okay,
good.
Do you want to finish and then...
No, you take it.
Because Robocop is something that I could bring up to, whatever, like my niece or something like that, and be like, do you know Robocop? And they'd be like, they're like 12, and they're like, yes. And I'm like, have you ever seen a Robocop movie? They're like, no.
Right.
So I'm like, how are you aware
that makes no sense
this
to me.
As a brand?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yet, growing up, you always had these Robocop arcades or things that were like actually holdable with guns.
Yes.
And even though the Robocop movies, I think there's like 2, 3?
3.
And then they tried to
for TV.
And then they tried to remake it with Joel Kennerton or whatever his name is. And
in 2014, I think. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And that was completely unsuccessful. Also, he's got the personality of a robot, so I'm really
that was one of the problems, right? Is he needs to have some sort of personality.
Yeah, he does. Or the joke is he has none at all. I don't know, whatever. But the original is so good and such like a cutting, like
Joel Kinnaman.
Thank you very much, from Suicide Squad. That it is such like a good farce of like our like capitalist culture with the way that we punish people and stuff like that. Even as a kid, I was like, oh, I get it. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Also, really cool seeing Detroit on screen, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it's a great setting as well. I love a little bit of cyberpunk. I watched the movie. I liked the movie, but it wasn't something that, put it this way, if popular culture didn't reference it so often, it wouldn't have been something that stuck with me for as long as it did, whereas Ghostbusters definitely would have been. That movie was so iconic to me. I went to the movies not too long ago. And
what'd you see?
I think it was Top Gun, actually. I think it was when I was seeing Top Gun. And there was a preview for Robocop, the anniversary edition, so the 35th anniversary, the movie is coming back to the big screen.
Cool.
Just like the original on the big screen, remastered in 4K. Very cool idea. But as soon as I started to see some of the lines and some of the dialogue and some of the action, I was like, I don't know that this is what the world needs right now. And I know that it was kind of a satire on too much violence and everything, but there is a little bit of fuck yeah to it. Like shooting guys in the dick. Over
which
policing.
Is something we celebrate on this podcast, by the way. We do.
We literally did in Max Payne.
We did.
We high-fived hard over it.
We love shooting people in the dick.
We love shooting people in the dick.
Yes. That is one thing Robocop and us have in common.
What do you think the second funniest place to shoot someone is? And you can't say a mall.
Oh, God. Don't worry, I wasn't. How about if you shot someone's nose off?
Oh, so like from a profile.
Side. And then all of a sudden they look back and you're like, oh my God.
Okay, so can I punch that up a little bit?
Yeah.
You go pick it up and you say, I got your nose.
I got your nose.
And then you try to stick it back on them.
Yes. I think it falls off.
It falls off and you say, whoopsies.
100%.
And then, oh my God.
What's up?
And then you can recreate the scene from Batman with the penguin where his nose gets bit off.
Right. I forgot about that.
I've always wanted to recreate that scene.
I was watching 21 Jump Street again the other day, and when Rob Riggle gets his dick shut off and then tries to put it back together with using his mouth, and I'm like, getting your dick shut off is very funny.
It's very funny.
And then, also, Jonah Hill reacts the same way that we do. He was so ecstatic about it.
Yes.
And so are we.
I think the second funniest place to get shot, thanks for asking,
Yep.
would be perfectly in your butthole.
Right. How would you know that, though?
Right?
Wait, no, you think that's a good thing that you wouldn't know?
No, I think it would be really funny. You go to the doctor and it's like, we know where the exit wound is. Where's the entrance wound? We have no idea. How did this thing get in here?
No entrance wound at all.
Is this an alien situation?
You were so accepting of this bullet. Yeah, it's very funny.
Thanks, Andrew.
What if, okay, how about this? So you shot somebody.
Yes.
In the butthole. Out the penis hole.
That's how anatomy works.
That's exactly how anatomy works. Thank you for asking. I am a doctor. And then he dies. And they're like, what happened? What happened? I can't even tell what happened to this guy. I think there's some...
So in your scenario...
Yeah.
It does cause all the damage from butthole to urethra.
Yes.
But it exits perfectly fine.
Well, either that or it's like the greatest Call of Duty clip of all time where the guy keeps running and he's like, I thought I shot that guy. And you're like, nope, clean through like a whistle. Whew. Like the cartoons would make me believe that you're between your ears. You could just like between
with a
napkin or something, or a handkerchief.
A handkerchief.
Yes.
Really, the handkerchief industry has taken a beating these last
really
decades.
Has it,
yeah,
eh?
It really has. It used to be enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Handkerchiefs, jewel cases for CDs.
Yeah.
Jewel the singer.
Jewel the singer, yep.
Jewels in general.
Even Jewel the singer's still a babe. I don't care about her teeth. She's a babe.
Oh.
Yeah.
She had bad teeth?
She's got an adorable, like, it's space in her teeth.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It makes her unique.
Yes.
Just like her songs.
Oh, Andrew,
beautiful
that is
songbird.
Sweet. Yep. Very well. Unique also, just like the movie that we're talking about, the 35th anniversary of Robocop. So yeah, I was sitting in the theater and I was like, I don't know that this is the right thing to bring out right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Who knows? But let's talk instead of the movie about the video games.
Sure.
Because there are a lot of video games, and similar to something like Ghostbusters or Top Gun, I think even more so, one movie spawned a plethora of games. And it's not quite as many games for Robocop, especially because there were subsequent movies, and with each theatrical release, there would be another game release.
Right.
But it's kind of an interesting story that the franchise followed in the story of Alex Murphy, aka Robocop.
Robocop.
So much so that there is even, for some reason, a Robocop game slated for 2023.
Why?
Right?
But wait, what kind of video game? Like, that's just such a broad term now these days.
It's a card collecting game. Trading card game.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. No, it's like a full action game.
Really?
Yeah.
Because like the other one too is like they say this all the time, and then stuff comes and goes away, and I never heard of it.
But people were pretty excited about it. The company Teon that is going to be releasing this game, developing this game. They also released Terminator Resistance, and that was only a few years ago.
Yeah,
and it wasn't incredibly well received. But for a franchise that hasn't been giving fans what they want for a while in Terminator.
I was going to say these two franchises are very tied together.
Very much so. In fact, there is a Terminator, Robocop versus Terminator game that came out for, I think, the SNES and the Genesis a while ago.
Not us.
No, whoever wins, Predator loses.
Exactly. That's the way you should do it. It should be like Robocop versus Terminator versus Predator.
Well, you could
versus Alien.
You could do that in Mortal Kombat 11 because Robocop shows up as does Terminator.
As does Terminator.
Yeah.
As does
people fucking sleep on that Mortal Kombat game. How cool it is that you're getting Rambo in there.
Okay, so during my PlayStation Plus premium pronunciation.
Pronunciation?
Well, there's just a lot of P's in this thing.
Okay.
Is that
alliteration?
No, a lot of P's. Is that I downloaded Mortal Kombat, the newest one, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna mess around with this totally. The problem is all the downloadable characters you still have to pay. You
still have to pay for
and I'm
them.
like, oh well, what the hell am I doing here?
That game is essentially free to play at this point,
right?
Free to play, not to eat. Or play with more interesting characters.
Breaky about it, yeah.
It's tough because you'd want like one game where you can get all of them. Like I want Injustice and Mortal Kombat to kind of merge. Just give me one game and like, just plug in all of the licenses.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
I love this idea. Like some Smash Bros for this kind of You know, what were we talking about the other day? That Disney thing with the character,
Infinity.
Yes, that's what I kind of want. I want to like look around the room and go like Ninja Turtle versus Ghostbuster.
And, it sounds weird because people have always been protective over licenses, but it feels like with multiverse things happening and like crossovers are proving to be beneficial for all parties involved. And I think people are getting more lenient with their licenses. We've talked about this before, but I actually do see that being a possibility down the line.
Well, two things. Mikey's an expert in licenses. If you want more experience for that, go to the Sign Off podcast on the Sad Styles Network.
Hell yeah.
And then the second thing is I'm not going to put you on the spot here. But you at home, you're not doing anything right now. You're on the treadmill or in a car commuting to work or something like that.
Probably not on the treadmill. Let's be honest.
Someone, first of all, send yourself on the treadmill. Send a picture of us on the treadmill listening to the podcast. Yeah. That's the first thing. Second thing is, you have more time on your hands than I do in this moment right now because I got to talk out loud. What is your dream fight? What's a pop culture dream fight where you're like, I never thought I'd see these two people fight or these two groups fight, and I want to see it?
That's great. Actually, I had a similar question to ask you, Andrew, because I was going to say, we've had these people show up in Mortal Kombat 11. Who are the characters that you'd want to see that you haven't seen yet?
So I just said I would not put you on the spot, and you're like, yep, good. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay, very good.
I do have an answer for that, though.
Okay. What would it be?
And it would be an answer of a grouping of characters. I've always wanted, and this has been since I was a kid, like since the movie Scream came out, I've always wanted a fighting game, kind of like a Mortal Kombat, but with famous horror villains.
This is great.
It
I love this.
I want Jason versus Michael Myers. I want Ghostface versus
Can't think of any more.
the unseen villain from Black Christmas.
Black Christmas, really good movie.
It's a great movie.
Really good movie. The original.
Yeah.
Okay, how about Babadook versus
Swamp Thing?
Swamp Thing. I was going to say Alien versus Predator again. Bruce the Shark versus Swamp Thing. Damn, I said Swamp Thing twice. Yeah, I love this idea. But what about the Power Rangers versus the Warriors?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Or something like that. Like there would be so much more fun ways too of like Ross Geller from Friends versus Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. And everyone just fell asleep. It was great.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I got to be honest with you, Andrew. I don't think that's going to happen.
Why not though?
That's a better question.
Why not?
It could.
Ross Geller, leather pants, 2 white teeth. Ted Mosby, he had a sword on the wall, I think. I should
You would just call for help, I think, the whole time.
Yeah, his two children get tagged in and just beat the shit out of Ross.
Exactly. I don't know. I would love an idea like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Almost like a what's that game? It's escaping me right now. But you essentially battle simulator, totally accurate battle simulator, that kind of thing. I mean, that one's a little bit more janky because it's all those.
And you know where these fights actually happen on the WWE 2K, whatever the most recent one is.
That's true.
Because the create a character is so robust online that you have everybody from everywhere that you could do, like the mask versus whatever. Yeah,
the mask, that'd be a good one as
that's
well.
a good one, right?
Speaking of masks,
Robocop's
got one.
He's got one.
So we're going to be talking about the 1988 Robocop release primarily. It was originally released on arcade. It was ported, as we mentioned at the top of the episode, to NES. I believe actually in '99. That's the game that we're going to be playing. Turns out, not always easy to get your hands on an arcade cabinet in which we can play Robocop. So we can play Robocop on the NES, and they're not too dissimilar.
Oh, good.
The arcade game is a different game, but it was kind of interesting how the NES version came to be. So the arcade game in 1988 was made by Data East.
Okay.
Data East is
that has shown up before.
It has. Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja.
Dudes, that's what it is.
But they weren't the original company to own the licensing rights to Robocop. That was Ocean Software, a company that's also done a lot of licensed games, including Waterworld. They've
Can't wait to do that.
Total Recall, Rambo, Eek the Cat, Batman, Top Gun, Mr. Nuts, and Kid Chaos. What are you laughing at?
Mr. Nuts?
Yeah, why are you laughing at that?
That's hilarious.
It's spelt with a Z, so you know they're taking it seriously.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's probably Dutch or something.
The Z is at the beginning, but it's silent. Nuts.
It's Nuts?
And his first name?
It's...
Nope. Derek. D's Nuts, baby.
D's Nuts. That's the longest walk for that one.
No, it wasn't actually. I just made that up. Yeah, it is Mr. Nuts. Mr. Nuts, Kid Chaos. They made a lot of games. They actually purchased the license for Robocop based on the script alone.
Wow.
And they pulled one of the most ingenious moves in licensed gaming history, potentially. So, big risk signing on to a movie like this before the movie's ever been made. There wasn't a ton of talent behind Robocop when it was first announced. Wasn't a massive movie. It risked being kind of B-movie-ish. And this is according to, I can't remember who it was, but it was a Eurogamer article that I read, and one of the owners of Ocean Software was saying this. Like, they definitely gambled on it. So what did they do? They sub-licensed it to Data East so that Data East could make the arcade game. Great. If it does well, Ocean Software makes money. Data East makes money.
Absolutely.
They were copacetic there. They got along. And then instead of just developing a game from the ground up for the NES, because Ocean Software was a home console game company, they still had the rights to make a game for the SNES for a few of the other consoles at the time, the Atari, I believe, the Commodore.
I've heard of it.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
It's super popular.
Incredibly popular. Yeah,
incredibly popular.
Yeah.
They basically just copied the arcade game that Data East made and added some elements to it. But it was essentially the skeleton was the same game. So they're like, we're going to, it's very spooky.
That's very
This is not October, and I don't mean to scare anyone, but skeletons could also be added to this horror game we're talking about.
They could be. Jack Skellington.
Ooh.
There we go. Versus Slimer.
Slimer.
Who wins?
You know what I picture?
What's that?
They run at each other, they clash in the center. They just become one.
They become one. They become whole.
They become whole. And they just love each other.
That's beautiful, Mikey. That's really beautiful. I really love this idea.
They just eat hot dogs and Halloween candy for the rest of their days. And sing. Exactly. Slimer finds his voice like Kamiko in The Boys.
Oh, there we go. Spoiler alert.
Kind of. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
whatever. It's fine.
Who cares?
Watch The Boys. It's great.
Yeah.
So they basically just took all the risk off, sub-licensed it to Data East, used the game that they made because they saw it was successful, poured it to the NES, and everyone's happy. Everyone's making money. So we're going to be playing the NES version. After that, they had in 1990 RoboCop 2. In 1991, you had RoboCop 3. That was on the Genesis SNES. In 1994, you had RoboCop versus the Terminator, which is a really cool one. That was I considered maybe we should do that game for this, but I figured there's going to be time to do a RoboCop versus the Terminator game.
It's anniversary every year.
Every year something comes up.
So you're getting to 4 games now really quickly.
Yes.
So they must have been successful.
Weirdly, very well received.
Oh, there we go.
Good games that sold well. The home version of Robocop on the NES sold at least 1 million copies.
Wow.
Or for home consoles in general. The arcade game was the second highest grossing arcade cabinet in Hong Kong for the year that it came out.
Okay.
And I think it reached in Japan as well, equally as high. Sorry, highest grossing arcade game, highest grossing in 1988 in Hong Kong, and got as high as number 2 in Japan, which is very impressive.
There we go.
For specifically Robocop, CVG gave it a 95%, Crash gave it a 92, Sinclair User, which I'm not familiar with, gave it a 94, and Ace gave it an 807 out of 1,000.
807 out of 1,000.
807 out of 1,000.
Well, I know exactly how they feel about that game.
To 100th of a decimal place or something.
They're 80.7%.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Isn't it crazy though to think about the fact that like when you picture licensed games, especially ones that are based on like bigger properties, you'd never imagine that they're actually well received or actually good. Like that's never been the case, especially for a company like Ocean's had some good games, but they also had Top Gun and they also had Waterworld, and it's very hit and miss. But it seemed like when they took this project on, they wanted to make sure that whether the game or whether the movie was good or not, the game stood on its own.
Right.
They toned down the violence a little bit to make it more friendly for everybody, and just wanted to make sure that even if it was a B movie that was kind of swept under the rug, people would buy the game because the game was good for itself. So maybe they knew that they had to have a backup plan in case the movie sucked. Whereas Waterworld, well, they should have had a backup plan for that because
it really sucked.
But they didn't. But they focused on making a good game, and look, it worked out for them.
Yeah. Wow, it did. Wow, that's unbelievable. Robocop, eh?
Yeah. So that's a little bit about the game that we're going to be focusing on. But come 2003, there was another Robocop remake, a video game that came out, and it was terrible. It was notoriously one of the worst movie tie-ins ever. 2003 release, but it was still a Robocop from 1987.
Oh boy.
A spin-off of that movie. In 2014, there was another movie tie-in game for the 2014 remake of Robocop, and it was awful too.
Oh.
So it turns out Robocop should be relegated to the 2D sphere, which is weird to say, a 2D sphere.
Yeah, a circle?
Yeah, 2D circle.
Yeah, 2D circle. Yeah,
But we'll see. Maybe in 2023, Rogue Nation will come and be the Robocop game we've always wanted.
Wow. Rogue Nation? Mm-hmm. Like Mission Impossible Rogue Nation?
Is that the name of it?
Well, there was a name of a... Am I thinking of a Rogue whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, Rogue City. Sorry, Rogue City. Yeah.
Detroit.
It's the roguest of all cities.
It is the roguest of all cities. Yeah. Wow.
Now, Andrew, as I mentioned at the top, not an enormous affinity towards Robocop. This is not a game that I've played.
Right.
Have you played this game?
I don't believe I have, Mikey.
So usually what we would do, as we mentioned earlier, is we would rate and review the game as we remember playing it back when we were kids. Because neither you nor myself have any experience having played it, we're going to play the game, and then when we come back from the break, we're going to give our impressions, our review out of 4 based on what we think we would have thought about it had we played it when we were young little boys. Does that sound good to you?
I love this idea. I cannot wait to go back and play this game, especially because it was so successful. I'm like, okay, so there was something to this.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what it is.
I would have loved to have played the arcade game. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our hands on it, but it comes in high esteem still, the NES version. And in fact, a lot of publications called this the definitive version of the game. So maybe we'll be okay playing it. If you're going to join us for the gameplay, which is going to boot up in just a little bit over on our Patreon, great. We'll see you over there. If not, we'll see you on the other side in 2 shakes of a Robocop's gun. Maybe.
Oh yeah, he's got PTSD. Oh God, I'm so much of a robot.
Just a reminder that you can now find our gameplay segments where we play through a portion of today's game and provide video commentary while doing it over on our Patreon, patreon.com/the Retrograde Podcast. Join the Mushroom Club for $5 US per month for access to all the gameplay, plus 2 to 4 bonus episodes per month where we do things like character drafts, top 10 lists, and even take some suggestions from our community. So show some support to the podcast by joining the Mushroom Club at patreon.com/the Retrograde Podcast for access to bonus content and all of our gameplay segments. We'll see you guys on the other side.
And welcome back to the Retrograde.
What are your prime directives, Andrew? This is my robot voice.
Beat level 2.
Beat level 2. Well, yeah, we just got back from playing Robocop on the NES, and we couldn't beat level 2. It was unfortunate.
We tried a lot.
A lot. Not for lack of trying. The game booted us out at a certain point.
Yeah, it froze us out. We were going to do it one more time, and I actually, I'm not just saying this, I felt pretty good about it.
I felt pretty good about it, too. So walk us through level 1, and then we'll get to level 2 and explain why we couldn't beat it.
So you're in the streets of Detroit.
Yes.
Crime is all over the place.
It is. Well, we haven't seen any crimes committed. With the exception of people throwing flamethrowers out the window.
And motorcycles, sicking dogs on you. Well, I will say... Yeah.
You're encroaching on their turf.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The thing is, it's like a 28 Days Later situation because they don't just it's not like they're spray painting, they look back and they're like, uh-oh, cops.
Yes.
It's more like cops and they sprint at you. Sprint at you like,
oh! Or even drop kick from the top windows of buildings.
Second story window, they just drop kick you.
Now, all the enemies come from the same places, the same times. I know this game, when it came out, was originally thought of as being too hard. The developers said that when they made it, it was way too easy. So they reprogrammed some of it, rebalanced it, and made it as difficult as it is. And the programmers to this day insist that it's a relatively easy formula to get to know once you know where all the enemies are coming from. And I'd kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I actually liked the process of bumping up against a pain point that we couldn't pass, and then recognizing the essential elements, like the enemies you had to kill and the enemies you could walk by, and then how to defeat the bosses or the tougher enemies to get to the next step, and kind of mechanize it a little bit. I liked that pattern recognition. It was very satisfying. Make it robotic. Yeah. Well done, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Done. You know, it's funny. While we were doing that, you get the appeal of speedrunning. Yeah. But you get why it would also be maybe the most infuriating thing of all time.
Very tedious.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like I think about that all the time with speedrunning, where it's like if you fail or like no hit runs in Elden Ring or something. I saw a video where a guy was trying to complete a hitless run on Dark Souls 1 through 3. And in the last boss,
just go to therapy.
Just go to therapy.
Honestly, just go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
Don't do that.
That's what the therapist would say.
Yeah, just like, oh, my lost child, and they would hug them for the first time ever. Oh no, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
But in the last fight, close to the end, he took a hit and he legit cried.
Yeah. I totally understand. I'm not making fun of that guy at all for that. I totally understand.
I am a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm also just going to assume it's a guy. But is it, oh my God.
Yeah, really tough.
So sad.
I was pretty sad when we kept bumping up against the second level, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah,
First
we'll
level,
get to it.
Pretty straightforward.
So you're just moving left to right.
Left to right. No guns in the beginning. There is an element in this game where there are zones in which you cannot shoot. And they kind of work it into the gameplay or the story.
I kind of like it, actually.
It doesn't bother me.
In a weird way, it's organic. It's not like they're like, no guns and like text shows up and stuff like that. There's just a little noise where you see Robocop going like, and he clips up his gun. Yeah. Because in this situation, I think it's meant to believe that no one else has any guns. So you're a police officer, so you're not going to use undue force.
That's what happens, right? Yeah. And that's what police officers always do. You know, that's how you know that Robocop's prime directives have been programmed correctly by the police state.
100%.
But it is interesting. You walk into City Hall and you holster your gun. Yes. Or you're walking, the second level starts out where all you can do is punch. And then someone pops out a window and shoots at you, and that's when you pop your gun out.
Exactly.
It does make it feel like it's balanced towards justice.
It is also part of the storytelling. Yes. Like, there is a story element to it, too. Like, no, I just need to punch people here for a bit. Right. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And in that way, this is a weird, dark thing to say, but like in a weird way, it makes it feel justified, where you're like, he's not doing more than he has to.
That's true.
So you're now like, yeah, I got to punch his motorcycle out of this guy's hand or whatever.
Which,
but
sure, justified in a like a probable cause or a probable equal force or whatever it is.
Right. Undue force.
Undue, whatever it is. I'm sure there's a word for it that's escaping me right now.
I'm sure there's a word for most things.
But not justified in what Robocop is.
No.
You know, as a movie.
No.
Right?
Wouldn't that be great if like the third level boss was a mirror and he's just looking at it, he's like, what have they done to me? I am a monster.
I was hoping they'd have a line where it's like, you are parked in an illegal space. You have to, you know, like in RoboCop. Yes. Like I wanted some of that. Granted, you know, as we mentioned, this game was developed before the game was even finished filming. Right. So who knows what they could have added or what they kind of left out of it. But I did think that there was a certain amount of charm to it.
Yes. No, I do. I think this game was unique, and in its way, in a period where they're making really bland, you know, IP-driven game stuff. Yeah. It was actually unique to the movie. It felt like a Robocop game.
Yeah, it did. It did. With the exception of the number of dogs you kill.
A lot of
There's
dogs.
so many dogs.
A lot of dogs.
It's like 2-to-1 dogs to human enemies. And
German
everyone
shepherds.
knows I hate killing dogs. I love killing humans. Especially if they're drop kicking me from a top building, top ropes of a building.
Yeah. And that guy that was just throwing dogs at us? Like, what is that all about here?
No. I mean, normally, everyday life, someone throws a dog at me.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, here's a puppy. And you're like,
taking
oh no.
it. I'm cuddling it. I'm letting it kiss me on the face.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a good home.
And then I'm shooting it.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. No, but I also just hate dogs in video games. I always have. I think that they're purposely, the purpose of a dog is to be annoying to kill.
Yes.
And I don't think that necessarily makes for great game mechanics. They're fast. I'm kind of speaking directly to Elden Ring right now. So everyone else shut up.
Oh, I didn't even know there was dogs in Elden Ring.
There are dogs and wolves in Elden Ring and rats as well. And they're just like purposely pests of enemies. And I think that's the same with dogs in most games.
Yeah. I think Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2 as well.
Yeah.
They're too fast. They pack too much of a punch. They can stagger you a little bit. Don't love that. And it's kind of the same in this game where they run at you from an angle you can't really shoot them at unless you crouch down. And then they jump up. So it's like if you're too slow and you crouch down, then they jump over your bullets. And I get that as a mechanic, but it just never feels right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just seeing dogs. And it's not like an animal rights thing. It's just that it never feels satisfying killing a dog.
No. And
I'm only satisfied when I kill regular ass human beings.
But there's like an ethical thing where, like, in my mind, the human has agreed to be part of this
Yes.
evil organization
Yes.
and is getting compensation for it, or
Right.
some means where they're like,
These dogs be getting treats though.
oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
You think these dogs ain't getting bacon strips?
That'd be great. As you just put a gun between a dog's eyes and you're like, was it worth it? Was it worth it for the treats? And then you blow its dog's brains out. Is that what you wanted?
You blow its dog's brains out?
Yeah, 100%.
It has a dog.
Yeah.
So you're the punishment for this dog taking part in this crime organization and accepting bacon bits to do it.
Right.
Is that you're killing that dog's dog and
so
making
they understand
it
the
watch?
feeling.
Make the boy watch.
And then I work my way up the chain. And then I look at the dog whose dog I just killed.
Yes.
And I look at the human. And I'm like, see what happens? We don't play around here. Robocop time. Bang, 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 bang. What do you think? Pretty good?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you kill the dog's dog, then you kill the dog, then you look at the human and you say, you did this to you, and you kill yourself.
Whoa.
And then that guy's just got to live with it.
Yes, you had the sweet relief of death, and no, you got to walk around
Now
with
you
this
got to walk
forever.
around with it. But you make sure it's your last bullet so he can't use it on
Okay,
himself.
how about this?
Okay.
Dog's dog.
Dog's
right?
dog.
Kill the first dog.
The bounty hunter?
Yeah, 100%. Dog the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
So the dog's dog, in my situation, it's a puppy.
Okay.
Very sad.
Yeah,
So
because
cute.
a dog can't own it. This is legal. This
is legal.
A
This is
dog
legal.
cannot own a dog that is older than it.
Right. So, kill the puppy. Kill the dog.
Yes.
Now the guy.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, sorry, buddy. You saw what happened before you, right? Then I find that guy's father. Right.
Yes.
I pull him out of the house, and he's like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "I need to show you a series of corpses, from little to bigger, and you'll understand everything."
How many times do you start your day off with that sentence?
I need to show you,
Officer, I need to show you a series of corpses, and this will all make sense to you soon.
It would be great if there was some puzzle element where that grandfather was like, "Oh, I get it. Oh, you're here to kill me, aren't you?" And like, "Yes, I am, sir."
Richard's involved in gangs again? Yeah. And dog collection? Okay. I see.
Not anymore, though. Okay, so yes, lots of dogs.
You know that puppy's got a cat, right?
Ah, crap. Somebody find this cat. Cat's got a mouse. The whole thing goes in. Yeah.
You find the cat, and the cat's like, I actually own that old man. You're like, this circle I cannot break. What is happening?
I feel like I've entered an unholy bond in which I wish to have no participation in whatsoever. That's when you kill yourself at that point.
And I almost felt like killing myself towards the end of level 2 of Robocop. So you make your way past level 1, very generic, the streets. The biggest challenge of level 1 is getting is aligning yourself with the stairs so that you can step your way up top.
The hardest enemy we face.
The hardest enemy we face is the staircase, is elevation,
Yeah.
as Bono once said, Ella elevation. And I I do think that the animation of the Robocop is very almost endearing. Like it's very cute. It's very sweet. It looks like Robocop.
Except for the talking. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
The talking is so... It's
in the cutscenes, you mean, between levels?
There's a cutscene where they tried to do some level of dialogue.
Yes. It's just a big image of Robocop's head.
And there's 2 frames.
Yes.
Mouth open, mouth kind of not open.
Yeah.
Mouth like tongue out.
And the only way you can tell that a mouth is open as opposed to closed is the screen in contrast to the other screen, because when he stops talking, I don't know whether the animation is showing him with a mouth open or a mouth closed.
It is like the clip online where they recreated Tutankhamun's esophagus to find out what he would have sounded like. And I'm okay. I'll share this clip because it is maybe the thing that's made me laugh the hardest.
To see it, go to @RetrogradeAndy on Twitter. You can also follow me at Retrograde Mikey or @RetrogradePod.
And so they're like very excited by this. Like it was like CBS Dateline or something like that. NBC Dateline, excuse me. And they're like, and we finally know what Tutankhamun would sound like. And the sound that comes out is goes, oh! And I couldn't help but see Robocop's face and just going like, oh! And you're like, okay, all right, my guy. All right. Time to kill people. I got it.
Sometimes scientists are so fucking full of themselves.
100%.
Like, what do you mean? You guys thought dinosaurs had scales for a long time.
Yeah, and it turns out they're all birds.
They're all birds.
They're all birds, you liars. Okay, here's another thing. What if the grandfather owned a car? Do you got to burn the car to the ground?
What if the grandfather owned a grandfather clock?
Oh my God.
And it was made out of his grandfather. Would you have to make the grandfather clock watch you murder the grandfather?
I'm going to give you both knives. You figure it out. Second half sillies. Where are the second half sillies?
So before we move on to the second level.
Yes. Which the really important level.
The really important level, which is City Hall. Very generic gameplay in the first, which follows its way through the second. The enemies literally just like kamikaze themselves at you.
They do.
They just run at you from all angles, including the dogs. Originally, you can only punch, and then you enter the shooting zone, and then you can shoot.
Yeah.
Shooting does happen in multi-directions, so you can do left, right,
diagonals.
up, down, and diagonals.
Yep.
But the diagonals have to be angled very specifically to hit enemies in certain locations, and they're very careful to have enemies pop out of windows when they know you can't hit them.
I know.
From where you stand.
They're in the darkness. You can't see them.
Yes.
And they just come out and stuff, which I get, like the idea that like, I don't know why I'm thinking about this game in real life. I'm thinking about a half hybrid robot cop and seeing what like, well, you wouldn't be able to see into a dark window.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, he's down on street level. He's not going to be able to see inside.
But it kind of insinuates that there is a ton of health tax in this game.
Yes.
There's just a lot of ones that there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You can only shoot one way. You can't shoot 2 ways, right?
Right.
And so when people are coming at you at the same time, it's like, well, what was I supposed to do?
There's a specific moment once you do get into level 2, which is City Hall, where it starts off with 2 enemies running at you at the same time, and they meet you at the same time.
Yes.
And only once or twice, I think, did we ever
each once got it.
Hit them without getting hit.
Yeah.
So, an element of mastery, a little bit of a health tax. I didn't find that the health itself was much of an issue until you got up to like a boss or a set piece moment. And there were set piece moments in this that were kind of interesting. I like that they tried that. Just prior to the second level, though, they do something that I think is a quality of good game design.
Okay.
Where the boss is a specific enemy that you can't shoot, you have to punch it. And it's the end boss of that level.
Punch it.
Punch it. Punch it up. Punch it up, just like all the jokes on this podcast.
Yeah, we all got to punch them up.
We got to punch them up. Unlike comedians these days, they got to punch down. So that's a boss, and this is like a Dark Souls thing where the boss ends up becoming a regular enemy type down the line,
which I kind of like.
Yeah, no, I do like that.
I like the idea that the introduction of this newer, tougher person is now the boss on one level and then is ubiquitous in the next level.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. So we enter into City Hall, you holster your weapon, and then an interesting level City Hall is where you're making your way through. There are doorways. Some of the doorways lead to separate rooms where you can find some health power-ups or things like that. Very seldom is that the
most
case.
Don't.
Most of them don't. You're just walking into empty rooms, and eventually we realize like there is a timer in this game like Mario would have. It's represented by a T-bar. You can pick up power-ups, batteries that allow you to extend the time, but eventually you're going to run out of time in a level. And we found that through exploring the level, like actually taking our time with it, going in all the doors, we were losing time and therefore couldn't make it to the end of the level without expiring.
Or if you're overexerting yourself with enemies sometimes, it seems like that is taking away from your battery or time or whatever.
Yeah. So we found that weirdly the best way to play the game was ignoring as much as you could in order to get to the end of it, which is that isn't a good quality.
No, that is not. It's like Doom all over again.
Yes, exactly.
What's the point of the game? Get to the exit.
Just get to where you gotta
go.
But that would be the point of my life if I were on Mars. I'd be like, get me the fuck out. Hell has opened up. Where's the exit? Let me talk to this.
Do you want to kill this half pig person? And you're like, no, I'm on Mars. Get me the hell out of here. This is awful.
Portal of Hell opens up. I'm already on Hell. It looks like hell. I'm already on Mars. It looks like Hell.
Absolutely.
Like
both red.
Both red. Like all the fire breathers in this game, or the flamethrower guys in this game.
Yes.
Red is a very common color for them, as you mentioned during the gameplay section. So we make our way to the end of City Hall. It's the second portion. Like the balance of this level is actually kind of interesting, where you're going to be running low on time, the T-bar, when a boss comes. So you kind of rush your way through the boss. Right behind him is a pickup to get more T, which is good. And then you go up, and there's a weird new set piece.
Yes.
Where, for some reason in City Hall, a collapsing booby trap is
a wall of spikes.
A wall of spikes pops up and is going to push you against a pillar, which thankfully, and this I'm just realizing right now, thankfully you can punch through it. And where do you end up when you punch through the pillar?
You end up in a room where a hostage has been taken.
The mayor.
Oh, that makes way more sense.
You end up in the mayor's office because you've punched your way through a wall?
So,
how do you get there otherwise?
So the mayor, every day, wakes up, has breakfast, kisses his wife, pets his dog, and goes,
nice matcha latte.
Absolutely. Matcha lattes, he's really into that.
Yeah.
And looks at his dog and goes, you better not have another dog. And then drives to the mayor's office, gets into the secretary's office. He's like, what's up for today? And very interesting. Reads his notes and then goes, okay. And then gets to the pillar and goes, and just has to punch open the pillar.
And then the poor secretary
Yeah.
has to rebuild the wall behind him.
What's very interesting when they were hiring for the secretary, like, do you have any masonry experience?
Do you think they explained that in the interview process, or that was like a day one on training when it's too late to back out?
Oh no, I think you have to come with that former experience, or you're negated. Your resume is not even seen.
I like the idea that then they say they interview. I would prefer if they interviewed just for a regular receptionist position. They said, "Hey, Lawrence,
yep,
pretty progressive.
That's pretty progressive.
You've got the job.
Okay,
make sure to bring your mortar.
Yeah, your mortar. What
is it? What do you put in between?
What
the bricks?
is that called again? Oh yeah.
Brick and mortar.
Mortar. Yeah.
Mortar.
Yeah, you got to mix your own mortar.
If
you got to have that little flat tool that
you got to
have
the flat tool that some people use so well.
I know. I've seen some videos where you're like, oh my God.
I cannot use
you're
that
an artist.
thing. It's all I know is I see that triangle shaped tool. I'm thinking cake.
Right.
That's all I've used something like that for.
Right. I'm constantly trying to cut into things these days and going like, are you cake as well? Why is everything kind of always cake?
That was a very awkward start to this podcast.
Yeah. And I was like, get over here. And I'm holding a knife. Come here.
I said, easy there, Scorpion.
So we get into this room.
Yes.
Where the mayor, thank you, has been taken hostage.
Right. In front of his giant U.S. flag.
Huge patriotic scene.
Yeah.
And Mikey got to that room for the first time.
And I started opening fire.
You just were like, hey, two moving bodies. Bang, 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 bang.
And they kept saying, oh no, which in my mind means I'm doing something right.
Yeah, this guy, this villain hates being shot.
Hates being shot, like most villains do in my experience.
Yeah, but that's not my fucking problem. That's his problem now.
He shows where he wants to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait till I get a hand on his dog.
Turns out Robocop murdered the mayor.
Yes.
So then we tried it, I don't know, 4 or 5 more times.
Yes.
And we didn't free the mayor.
We couldn't free the mayor.
Yeah.
It was a tough set piece. So I feel like, first of all, the design of the mayor and the hostage was probably limited by the NES, but I couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on in there.
I will say I appreciate that they were aggressive with the idea that it is like the classic hostage situation where the bad guys, they're using the good guys, the body shield.
Yeah.
The bad guy's behind them. He's put his arm around his neck and a gun to his head. But the problem is when you're using, 4 pixels for the whole screen, is that it's really hard to tell. It looks like a guy on a piggyback or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
or it looks like one person.
Yeah, like what is going on?
It just looked like one poorly designed person.
Yeah.
So we just kept failing at that. And when you shoot the gun and it hits the hostage, for some reason that hurts your power. I don't want to share my power with this hostage. What are we doing? They rebuild me, they can rebuild him.
Yes, exactly. Now you have Robo-Mayor. Robo-Mayor running for 8th term.
So we didn't get to the end of it. But I feel like we gave this game a fair shake. And I had some decent moments with it. You know, we talked pretty objectively about it, but Andrew, how did it feel to you playing?
It is fun because it is so crystallized of a bygone era. This game in 1988, you know, these games are somewhat similar in the way that they play and the pickups and some of the certain elements of it that are very unique to this style of game.
Right.
And in that part, you're like, oh, this is a ton of fun. But there are, limitations, but that's not the stuff that immediately jumps to the front, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
It's all the fun stuff first.
Wait, the fun. What would the fun stuff be in this game?
I actually like going through the level. I like working my way through the enemies and going like, well, I know this guy's here, and getting better at my shot and getting better at switching from guns to punching.
That's the thing. I wouldn't call that fun as much as satisfying. And there is something to say about a game being satisfying. That's a positive thing to feel. I like that.
Yep.
But I did find it so stiff. And the fact that you can't move and shoot at the same time. It felt pretty cumbersome to shoot diagonally. And the fact that enemies were Benedict Cumbersome. Felt like I was bending a dick trying to aim properly.
Are you mad that you didn't shoot anyone in the dick?
Someone punched us in the dick.
Actually, a lot of people punch you in the dick.
It was pretty good. I was happy that happened. That felt
Slipped him a
nice.
10.
I like the fact that people would run up to a metal robot and their thought would be, I gotta punch this thing right in the face. Good on them.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Brave soldiers.
Well, it's the only exposed part of your body, that jawline.
But what a jawline it is.
Hey.
I don't think I could knock that thing out.
Absolutely. Cut my hand. It's so sharp.
Hell yeah. Like cutting glass. Diamonds?
Cutting granite?
Granite. Well, it looks like it's made of granite.
Yeah.
Get that mortar out. Include that in the brickwork. No,
Secretary, get over here.
I didn't find it very fun though. I did. I liked the progression. I enjoyed that, but it felt slow and slower than a lot of games with guns from the NES at that era. However, if we're putting it into the context of playing it in 1989, so much of the NES was about imagining what else a game could be and kind of filling in the blanks of like, this is what we're showing you, but not what you're imagining is actually happening. The graphics weren't good enough for me to think like, I am actually Robocop right now.
Right.
But back in the day when you're playing a game like this, you felt that way because you imbued it with the sense of like, I'm Robocop. So a game that was totally acceptable to play, felt like I was making progress and offered me challenge without being overbearing like a lot of these games can be.
Right.
I think I would have gotten a lot out of it. I think I actually did enjoy it enough to recognize that as a kid playing this, I would have felt pretty badass.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. You would have felt like the titular Robocop.
The Robocop himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Or herself.
Wow. There we go again. Classic Mikey.
I don't know. Is there anything else about the gameplay or the structure of it that we spent our time with? Like, it's pretty straightforward, so I don't know that there's anything we haven't overturned.
I will say it is kind of fun that they try and do different stuff. Like you are going left to right in one, you're like, okay, cool, and you get to go up and down on stairs, which were very difficult.
The exploration element of City Hall was cool.
Except
you're
it's non-consequential.
It not only non-consequential, you're kind of told not to do it.
Yeah,
right.
Eventually, you're like, why would you do this?
And I know there's like an element of getting your score up. Like if you want to kill as many people as you can, sure, that might be it. But like that doesn't feel like a good enough reward in and of itself.
No, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But it did more things than I thought it would initially. Sure. So granted, give it for that. But I think
are you talking about his chin again?
I can't stop thinking about his rigid chin.
Yeah, what a chin.
It's not a coincidence. His body gets just absolutely pillowed with bullets, just completely disappears. The rest of that chin stays exactly the same.
So you think that chin took some bullets too?
Ding, 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 right off his chin. Absolutely.
Actually, people don't realize this, but the rest of his suit is made from the same material his chin was made out of.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's why when he gets shot, what sound does it make? Ching, ding, chin, ding, chin, chin.
Chin. It makes the sound of chin.
It makes the sound of sweet chin music, baby.
It's like a Pokemon. It says its own name. Okay, so let's get to our scores.
Let's get to our scores. So as we mentioned, because we didn't have any experience playing this game back when it first came out, we're going to be pretending as though we played it back when we were little kids. Probably would have been playing this game around 92, 93. Sure. That's when we got a lot of our NES game time in. What would you have given this game out of 4 bits had you, little Dinky Andy, played this game back in that time?
I'm glad you asked. I actually really enjoyed this game. I thought the colors were really fun. I thought the music was interesting, if not totally pleasing, but like very interesting and memorable. And I like the variance. I like the control and the restriction sometimes of saying like, no, you can't shoot here. And you're like, okay, wait, okay, I got to figure some stuff out. I got to figure out a block and do things. You know, the Doors and not the band, underrated, overrated, excuse me. But is it like, you know, the exploration style from City Hall, I think would have led itself into doing more things in future levels. Sure. And I think that would have been really awesome to play. It was also an achievable game. It wasn't, you know, I know they said it was very hard. I don't think so.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if I didn't have an element to that pattern recognition that I've come to learn from retro games as a kid, I would have assumed it was incredibly hard because I'm not memorizing the levels. I'm just trying to make my way through. But yeah, I don't think it was overly difficult.
Once we'd done it the second time, you're like, okay, I got it. Which is great. And that would have made me feel better as a kid because I was bad at video games. Yeah. So I am going to give this actually a pretty good score. I liked playing this game. I'm going to give it 3 out of 4.
That's okay. Great. I love to hear that. I actually think, you know, I mentioned earlier that I didn't have an enormous affinity towards Robocop. I think, as had happened with me with games in the past, if I played this game, I bet you I would have liked Robocop more. It did enough to make you feel powerful. The scale of Robocop versus the enemies, the sense of power you had when you take on a bunch of them and tank some bullets and kind of be okay. I think I would have looked back at the movie with a renewed sense of appreciation as well. I think it would have made me like the franchise a little bit more. And I do like that sense of it being slowed down. You made a good point there where it's like everything feels manageable. You know, I want to compare this to a game like Contra, but that feels more bullet hell than strategy.
Right.
This one does kind of feel like as long as you pace yourself, you'll be able to make it through anything. It's more of a thinking game than anything else. As a kid, I think I would have enjoyed that. You know, playing this with a friend or with my brother or something and figuring out like you and I were, oh, you can't shoot through the pillar. You have to punch through the pillar. And then recognizing that when you enter certain situations, the status thing in the bottom right of the screen would flash. That's how I knew I had to punch through it because the fist was flashing. Right. It's like your heads up display telling you what to do. I would have really liked that. I would have felt super powerful getting my ass kicked and then going through and kicking the ass of the enemies. I'm right there with a 3.
Oh, really?
I really got some enjoyment out of it. And I think I would have really liked it as a kid.
Okay, so that's a 6 out of 8 in our retro scores. Okay, so for our current scores, this is where this romantic tale about a game that I didn't see being as interesting as it is, or, you know, liking as much as it is, this is where it comes to an end. Yeah. The problem is in modern day, it's just like, it's not doing much. Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, it's kind of annoying at times. Right. I still like it, and I'm still glad I played it, but unfortunately, it just cannot measure up to anything that's happening today. And if you really like this style of game and you really like Robocop, which is always like the kind of cop-out answer I give when I say these kind of things, yeah, sure. But I also don't think that's going to do enough for you to go like, yeah, this is a really good game. Yeah. It's a functional game. It works, but it's just not going to be one that is very memorable or lasting. I'm going to give it a $1.5, 1.5.
Oh, 1.5.
Yeah, I just like, tell me why. Oh, well, Mikey, in your score, tell me why this game is, you know, at all valuable in the modern day.
I mean, and that's the thing that is the thing we often get criticized for is the modern day review is a little bit lower than a lot of people want us to give, but we're not reviewing this as a retro game. We're reviewing it against the likes of modern games. And this is coming from people who enjoy playing retro games in the modern day. There's a certain feel and a certain appeal to them that I appreciate over modern games in some capacities. But I do agree. I don't think it does very much that's unique. Yeah. I think that it comes to the table as a very familiar experience. It did some things sometimes that I appreciated, like letting you explore City Hall, but then, you know, pulling back on the reins and saying, but don't do that is a little bit frustrating. But I have enough of a feeling that level 2 got one up on me and I want to go and do it just to prove the game wrong. And that's the type of feeling retro games had to instill in you. And I have that right now. Okay. So I think I'm slightly higher than the 1.5. Okay. But I do think that everything else stripped away, this is a very down the middle game. And that's why I'm leaning on a 2 out of 4 on this one.
2 out of 4. Yeah. So that gets us to a 9.5 out of 16.
That's right, Andrew. You got the math correct.
I almost always do.
Well, almost always. You've been slipping a little bit in the past couple of weeks. I don't
think that's true.
I think it is.
Is that true?
Go back and listen. We had a listener reach out and congratulate me on calling you out on your math recently.
No.
It's 100% true.
Who the hell was that?
I'm not going to say their name.
I'll find you. I will find you. I'll Robocop you so good. So that's Robocop. I think, if you'd told me before that we got to a 9.5 out of 16, I would have thought, oh, good.
Yes.
This is a fun game.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, it kind of was a fun game.
It was surprising in the step that it took beyond just being a licensed property. Ocean Software said they wanted the game to stand alone in case the movie flopped. And I think it's clear that they put some effort into that, into making it a unique experience.
No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. So with those scores, I think we got to give out some awards.
Let's give out some awards. I'm going to sprint on over to the red carpet. So you walk slowly behind me. I don't want it to seem like we're arriving together.
Okay, good.
I've got some friends there who I just... You get it, right? Like, I'm kind of an up-and-comer in this group.
What?
They think I'm pretty... cool. I don't want to say
okay.
it. They've seen 1 or 2 of my TikToks.
Sure.
Which means like I'm... Do you know TikTok?
No.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a way the Chinese government spies on us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I know. Tucker
sounds pretty
Carlson was
awesome.
talking about it. It's pretty cool.
As long as I learn a few dance moves.
That's all you need.
So you go sprint ahead. I'm going to go figure out these stairs.
Okay, we'll go see you guys on the red carpet.
You've been waiting for it all year. The most glamorous award ceremony of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Grady's.
Ooh, here we are.
Wow.
Oh, hey guys. Let me introduce you to sorry, what's your name?
Andrew.
Are you sure? Oh,
I'm
you
sure
look
of my own name.
familiar. Sorry, I thought you were
I've been
someone
doing
else.
this podcast for years.
Oh God, I thought you were Max Payne.
No, I'm not. Why do you think I'm Max Payne?
Well, the shaved head and the beard.
Yeah.
And the rampant alcoholism.
Yeah, well, they nailed it. It's me, Max Payne.
So why don't you tell my cool new friends, hey, Tom, come over here.
Who's Tom?
Bring Elron. Yes.
Tom Cruise? You're friends with Tom Cruise?
Oh, is that his last name? So is that that's your last name? Yeah.
Do you think that's cool when people do that? Going like, I have no idea who you are. What's your last name?
People do it to me all the time.
Well, really?
People always tell me they have
and you're
no
like,
idea who
and
I
you're
am.
like, you fuck off. You listen to the Retrograde. You know
I say
you
that
do.
to everyone. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, Uncle Al, I know you listen to Retrograde. Stop pretending you don't know who I am. Yeah.
Oh, Elliot, how you do? Well, Kaylee's got his own Robocop outfit. Wow.
outfit. Yeah, I like that. He's got the jawline for it.
He does have the jawline for it. It's too bad you're hiding all that incredibly chiseled body of yours.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous of that. Tom, you'd be surprised to know this. I do work out myself as well. I know Elliot does.
No one asked.
Tom may have been thinking it.
Okay, all right.
Can you not fight with me in front of my new friends, Tom and
fighting
Elron?
with you. I don't think I'm fighting with you.
Katie Holmes, hi.
No, that is not that. What? Katie Holmes is still here?
Katie Holmes is still here. She's a little.
Well, you know what? They said they broke up. Has anyone seen Katie Holmes since?
She's in the basement of a Scientology place somewhere, I think.
This is a Bruce Wayne and Batman situation. Have you seen him in the same room?
Are you saying Katie Holmes is Tom Cruise?
No, I'm thinking Katie Holmes goes out at night and fights crime. I just think that's pretty obvious.
That's probably true. Listen, Elliot, why don't you reach into one of your metal pockets there, pull out the envelope, and let us know the awards this game won.
Metal pockets.
Hey, this suit, best thing about it, it's got pockets.
It's got pockets. Oh, amazing.
Where'd you get it? Aritzia? Cool.
Cool. Love it.
Wow. Hey, is that the sound of crickets or is that the sound of unoiled joints in a metal suit, Andrew?
Oil can, baby.
Oil can. Yes, oil can.
Yes.
That's when Barack Obama was giving a speech to BP.
Or when Barack Obama becomes robo-president.
Oh.
No more term limits anymore for that one, baby.
No, thank God.
Yeah,
his sidekick's going to be Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got the podcast
Yeah,
together.
they do.
Yeah.
There's no way it's good, right?
I can't imagine.
No,
Not as good as the Retrograde.
No, absolutely. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Well,
so, crickets.
That means no formal awards, but
Yeah.
we did just receive these 2 envelopes with custom
Okay.
awards for this one. I've got my award open.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is I'd buy that for $1 as long as it's on sale award. Meaning, yeah, I'd pay $1 for it, but not much more than that.
Right. Oh, yeah, because you like it, but not a lot.
Not a lot.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, I'll read my word.
Yeah, Andrew's opening up his
Okay,
envelope.
all right,
Yeah.
okay. Once again, the focus is the dick.
Whoa! Once
that?
again, the focus is the dick.
Okay, absolutely. It's because I liked this game Oh, I think this is an arousal joke.
Oh,
no, I don't like that at all.
Oh, no. Elliot, how dare you set us up to fail like that?
Absolutely. Good toss on your card, by the way.
Thanks. It's still on its way back. Yes. But we should end this podcast before it comes back because that thing has some momentum on it.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for listening. We love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Oh, here it goes, coming back!
Want more Retrograde in your life? You can visit our website for show notes at theretrogradepod.com. Follow us on Twitter at Retrograde Mikey, at Retrograde Andy, and the podcast at Retrograde Pod.
Or Instagram at The Retrograde Podcast.
For bonus episodes, check us out at patreon.com/The Retrograde Podcast.
Send your questions and business inquiries to theretrogradepodcast@gmail.com.
See you next week, D-pads.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Oh, we got to talk about video games.
Video games indeed.
Yep. I think that's important this week.